listening to the Esq.Marketing podcast, hosted by Matthew Lauren, president of Esq.Marketing, where he features successful solo and SMB law firms from all over the United States. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hey, I'm Matthew Lauren, president of Esq.Marketing, and you're listening to the Esq.Marketing podcast, where I feature successful solo and SMB law firms from all over the United States. This episode is brought to you by Esq.Marketing. We help law firms generate more clients and cases using search marketing. And speaking of successful lawyers, today I have the pleasure of speaking with James Fausone. Jim is managing partner at Fausone Bohn, a law firm based in Northville, Michigan, and specializing in areas of business, veterans disability, criminal, and family law. In addition to running a busy law practice, Jim has participated on numerous civic boards, including the University of Michigan College of Engineering, Michigan Military and Veterans Hall of Honor, Center for Digital Engagement, and Schoolcraft College, among many others. He and his wife, retired Brigadier General Carol Ann Fausone, also support many local veterans organizations. Jim, welcome to the show.
Hey, Matthew, good to be on. Good to kick this around a little bit with you.
I was toying around with what accolades to put in there. You have so many listed on your website. It seems like you're super active in the community.
Well, when you've been around for a long time, you get a chance to do a lot of things. So that's a little bit about longevity, I suppose.
That's awesome. So one basic question that I like to ask to all successful attorneys on the show is, how did you get started with your law practice? How did that go back in the beginning?
Sure. I actually have a civil engineering degree. Wasn't planning on being a lawyer. My then-to-be wife was in the military, and I went to law school on the GI Bill, having served myself, and came back from Washington State to the state of Michigan, clerked for a judge, then ended up at a large law firm and became a partner at that law firm. Was there maybe 14, 15 years and went to work for a client, in-house for a client as president of the company. It was a industrial and commercial waste business, hazardous waste business. So it was right up my environmental engineering background. Did that for a few years, and the owner of the company died unexpectedly of a heart attack, and found myself reevaluating what I was going to do next. And rather than go back into a big law firm, which I could have done, after being out for 3 years and having absolutely no clients, I decided to open up a law practice in the suburban Metro Detroit area with a couple of guys I practiced with at the big law firm. And we thought we were opening up a boutique environmental law firm, and that's how we started. That's what the first letterhead says. But honestly, the marketplace really dictates what you're going to do. And over time, we found that the clients that we were giving environmental advice to also wanted business advice, contract advice. Then somebody needed divorce and custody advice. And then somebody's vice president got in trouble with drinking and driving, and we needed a criminal lawyer. So over time, the practice evolved. And in addition, we saw a decrease. I've been in practice in that firm now for 25 plus years at Fausone Bohn, and we saw a change in how environmental matters got regulated. So there was a decreasing need for environmental lawyers, and we were really no longer a boutique environmental firm, although we do still a fair bit of environmental work. It expanded over time, and one of the areas it expanded into was veterans disability because of our connections with the military. And so I like to tell lawyers that about every 5 years, your practice is going to change in some way or another. You might be able to predict it, but you might not be able to predict it. And over 25 years, I would say the practice has changed 5 different times in different ways, some anticipated, some not so much.
Yeah, and it also sounds like opportunities came along and you were able to recognize those when they did, with the different areas of practice, and kind of capitalize on those as they came.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things a small law firm is able to do that a big law firm isn't, and that is to be nimble and seize those opportunities when they arise. Now, you also have to be nimble in your marketing and sort of change maybe your flavor Certainly our very first website, branded us as an environmental law firm. Well, we had to strip that off and change it around entirely as we added people and did things. So, you grab those opportunities when they arise, and you have to be nimble enough to grab them, and you have to be nimble enough to recognize that you also need to be changing your marketing approach, because what happens is people who first found you doing just one thing only think about you in that way. We still have people who go, I thought all you did was environmental law. And I still have business clients who go, well, I didn't know you did environmental law. Well, which is it? So it's really about how folks find you, what they associate your name with. And as you move into new areas, you've got to be out there letting not only existing customers know, but others that you now do something different. So it's been interesting in that regards as well.
That's great. That's great. I noticed that you're extremely passionate about Veterans Matters, and you have the other firm listed on your LinkedIn profile, and you're active in veterans groups. How did that come about? What's the story behind all that?
So we set up Legal Help for Veterans, PLLC, as a practice group of Fausone Bohn about 17 or 18 years ago now. At the time, the VA didn't allow attorneys really to charge for their work helping veterans get their disability, because under the original theory, the federal government was there to help you. You didn't need no stinking attorney. We're going to help you. And certainly what happened over time, and 20 years ago, became pretty obvious that the regulations were so complex, the bureaucracy was so steep that the veteran couldn't figure it out themselves. They needed legal help. And they would often turn to a veteran service organization like the Disabled American Veterans or Paralyzed Veterans of America or Veterans of Foreign Wars, VFW. And those groups got money from the federal government to help veterans with their disability claims, but they weren't lawyers. They were other guys passionate about helping veterans. But if this was not going to be an adversarial process, you just needed somebody who had been through it before. But it became more adversarial. It became harder to do. And particularly, we've been in the global war on terror for 20 years now. From 9/11 on. And the injuries became more complex. Establishing the medical nexus became more complex. So we had people coming to us and say, I don't get this. Can you explain this to us? And we do a few of them pro bono here and there. And then the volume got so big, once the reputation starts to go, well, I got to turn this into a real practice. Yeah. And over time, the federal government changed their approach a little bit, recognizing the need for lawyers in the system. So we were early in that game and have built a sizable national practice as a result. Now it helps that I've got military experience. It helps that my wife's a retired nurse and brigadier general. So she's got a lot of experience, and some of the people we've put around us are, licensed social workers and others who can really help on the harder cases. The lawyers don't really get the easy cases. They stay with the Veteran Service Organization. We're not talking about somebody who's lost a limb. They'll never need a lawyer. They go right through the system easily. We're talking about the more complex issues, medically complex, and we have a series of nurses and doctors who review records for us and write opinions for us, nurse practitioners, to help advance these claims. So it's really grown over the almost 20 years now. But we got in there because somebody asked us to help out, and this happens a lot with lawyers. First, we get asked to do it pro bono, and you do a few of these, and then you realize, wait a minute, there's so much work here. I got to get paid on some of this because I got staff that I got to pay. So
that's how a lot of great opportunities start, right? It's you help out, and then it turns into something else. You mentioned in your bio that you have started a lot of businesses, throughout your career. How has that helped you in running a law firm?
Well, what they don't teach you in law school is the practice of law as a business. you start with having to be a really good lawyer, right? A lawyer people can trust, somebody that gets looked up to and respected. That's how you get word of mouth clients, one person at a time. But really, in the end, a law firm is a business, whether it's cash flow or payroll or applying the COVID issues to your employees. All of that does then translate to advising businesses, small businesses. And so a lot of times, myself, my other partners, we're advising businesses, and we're going through or have gone through some of those same experiences. A good one at the moment would be payroll protection plans.
Yes.
Do you take the money in the spring of 2020? What's going to happen on the tax side in 2021? Will it change the law again? Again, understanding that the legal practice, as soon as you go from one lawyer to two, from one staff person to two, you're in business. When it's just you, and maybe it's you and one person, maybe it's a micro business, but you don't touch a lot of these issues. But as soon as you start adding staff, adding some complexity, that's where you're going to run. You're going to feel like you're in business and go, hey, wait a minute, they didn't teach me this in law school. Maybe I never even took an accounting degree or accounting class. You'll feel that maybe you should have.
Yeah, and I hear that a lot with some of the attorneys that I talk to. There's obviously the marketing and sales aspect of it, but all the other business processes you don't really think about in law school, and they don't teach you about, obviously, too.
Well, and you bring up a good point. Again, most lawyers will tell you, I don't want to be a salesperson.
Yeah.
If I wanted to be a sales, I would have gone into X, Y, or Z and done sales. That's not my interest. But we're all selling something some way, somehow. It may not be the classic salesman approach, but again, if nobody knows what you do and nobody has an understanding of the quality that you do it in, then you're probably not meeting your potential. So it's really important to get out there and explain yourself, tell a story, inform people, whatever language you'd like to put around it. That's the sales aspect of practicing law.
Great advice. Jim, as you look back in your career, what is one failure or mistake that translated to your future success?
There's an interesting question. I think we all have client failures that we have to build on. We don't meet expectations. Maybe we don't have the right skill set. Maybe we don't have the time to devote to a particular project. And I think every time you do that and you fail or you don't live up to your own expectations, which should be pretty high, it gives you an opportunity to reflect and say, well, when this comes around again, I'm going to do X. So when we were a small law firm, and right now I've got about 15 lawyers and a total complement of staff of maybe 42. When we were a small law firm, we had the opportunity to get involved in a big piece of litigation that was right up our niche because of our environmental expertise. But we didn't have the ability to manage the documents maybe the right way. And so it really forced us into reflecting on what technology we needed and what other relationships we needed. We ended up early on adopting scanning for all our mail and all our documents, bait stamping everything so you could find it, when a lot of firms were still staying in paper. That gave us an edge up. And we also worked with legal services providers who had not only contract lawyers in the United States, but over in India. So we'd have these massive projects that we didn't have the staff to get to, but we could turn them over to our subcontractors to plow through that in a timely fashion and a financially affordable fashion for the client to handle those sorts of things. So I think failing to be able to do it the first time allowed us to, second time around, go, we know what we need now. and we don't have it internally. How do we outsource this in a way that makes it all work?
Yeah, failure is the best teacher, isn't it?
It does. It hurts, but it does teach you.
Yeah. So I'm a big believer in rituals for success, whether it's something. My common one is you eat the frog every morning. You wake up and the first thing you do is something challenging, so the rest of the day isn't as hard. What is one thing that you would recommend young attorneys do on a regular basis, whether it's daily or weekly, to help them grow a law practice?
Well, I'd probably have a difficult time just picking one because I've got numerous morning rituals that make the day and then the week go along. But certainly one of them is the day's to-do list. I am a to-do list guy. Tell me what I got to do. First thing I do every morning is make sure I've got it all written down, prioritize it, and attack it.
That's me too. Here's my to-do list. Right?
Yeah. I left mine in the other room, but if you put it together and you prioritize it, part of what it does is many of us will choose the simplest thing to do or the easiest thing to do, maybe not the hardest thing to do. So I try to make sure, particularly I'm a morning guy, so I'm freshest in the morning. The people aren't lining up at my door asking me questions or interrupting me. So I try to get that hard thing done first thing in the morning. That's the other piece of advice, because we're really talking to lawyers here who are business owners. I also try to daily take a quick look at my financial position. So I'm looking at the bank accounts and seeing what's come in, what's going out. Too many people say, well, I only touch it once a month. Maybe I reconcile the checkbook once a month. No. You got to be on top of this. And honestly, that's advice I give to business owners when they're starting out. They're busy out in the field doing whatever it is they do to make a buck. But if you're not paying attention to those bucks when they either come in the door or you're billing and not receiving, you're going to find yourself in problems. So recognize it is a business. You have to put a little bit of time into the business every day to advance. And I think that's something I'd recommend to people as well. You can do a deeper dive once a month or once a week. I do a deeper dive every Saturday morning, pull up the QuickBooks, and pull up the accounting software, see what my office manager's done, and so that I know where it is. But daily, do a little something that advances the business side, not just the legal side of the business.
That's great advice. What piece of what tips would you give to an attorney thinking of starting their own law firm, other than those ones you just mentioned? If there's somebody who's working at a bigger firm, maybe, and they're thinking of breaking away.
So you have to be able to take the risk, right? When I made this decision, it was sort of forced on me because I made the one decision to leave the practice of law, and then the guy I'm buying the stock from and taking the company over dies, and the state gets in, and I can either stick around and deal with that craziness or go start the practice of law. And as I said, I didn't have a client at the time because I'd been out of the practice for 3 years. So you have to be able to take a risk. Honestly, not everybody's cut out to be a business owner, to run a law firm. You have to be able to take that risk. I tell this to business clients, but it's applicable here to a law firm owner. One side of your brain is going to say, this is going to be great. This is the best opportunity in the world. I can control my own world. I'm going to get rewarded for what I do. The other side of your brain is going, this is utterly ridiculous. You're going to fail. You're going to bankrupt. You're going to embarrass yourself. You're going to lose your home. What you hope is those two sides aren't doing it at 2 a.m. so that you can sleep. But you have to be a little schizophrenic, and not everybody can handle both of those. They can't really. They can't manage, compartmentalize, put it out of your head. But if you can, it's extremely rewarding. It's been great for us. Something I didn't start out in this direction. Didn't expect to be here 25 years later. We're from a financial standpoint, we're doing better than anybody could have imagined. Even if I had stayed with the big firm, doing way better than my peers would have done. from an ability to be involved in the community. When you run your own firm, you get to be involved. You said, well, geez, Jim, you're a pretty busy guy. You're involved in all these civic things. Those are things I want to be involved in, and I'm allowed to be involved in because I'm in a small business. I'm in a small law practice. We can control our own fate. We can say this is important to do, and nobody tells you you can't. So whether it's, I've got a partner who coaches high school football. It's what he does every August through November, depending on playoffs. He's been doing it for 20 years. It's, sort of family coaching in the firm, probably in that order.
Yeah.
That's what defines him. I have another guy who's a motorcycle rider, and he's got to ride every week. Otherwise, it's just not him. It's not, his life isn't balanced right.
Yeah.
He'd never be able to do that in a big firm where somebody was dictating other things to him. And honestly, he finds more clients riding bikes with a bunch of guys than you'd ever imagine, because those guys riding motorcycles are business owners and veterans and people who have real life problems. So I'd encourage people to, if you can manage the risk, if your head will let you do that, you got to have some financial cushion. You got to have backing by the family, support because there'll be lean times. There absolutely will be lean times. It's a wonderful, it'll provide you a wonderful career.
I like how you said the first thing is just make sure you're cut out for it. It reminds me of the E-Myth Revisited, Michael Gerber's book, how a lot of business owners started out as technicians, turned business owners, and they don't really, they're good at that one thing, whether it's law or baking cakes or making hamburgers, but they don't, when they get into business for themselves, they realize there's all these other aspects that you either have to delegate or do yourself until you have a team to do it.
And Matthew, there are unpleasant aspects of it, right? The cash flow problem is unpleasant when you can't pay a vendor. Firing somebody because they're not meeting expectations is unpleasant. People will not like you based on certain business decisions you have to make.
Yeah.
On raises you're going to give out, or bonuses you're going to give out, or even assignments you're going to give out. So you have to have the mental and toughness isn't the right word, but the mental toughness to say, I'm making this decision. I'm making it because I think it's in the best interest of the firm, and I'm willing to take whatever fallout comes from it, even though those people won't understand all the factors I took into account to make this decision.
Agreed. Jim, a final question. What is one book you recommend every attorney read who's either just starting out in private practice or maybe they're thinking about doing it?
Wow. You didn't ask me that ahead of time, so I didn't get a chance to think of one.
We'll get a truly authentic answer.
Yeah, think of one thing. So I'm not trying to have a book title for you, but I guess I would tell you it's not in the area of law.
Okay.
We find that thing that resonates with you that expands your horizon. Whether it's in an area you have an interest in but aren't involved in. We're talking about marketing here. At some level, I knew nothing about digital marketing. And over time, I knew I had to become more involved and more into that. So I've certainly tried to read that sort of information. Business books in general. Warren Buffett's an investor and writes an annual letter with great business and practical advice. And he's from Omaha. So
yes.
He writes like a normal person. He doesn't. Yes. He's not a New York elitist or a West Coast elitist. So even any of those sorts of things, I guess I'd say, sort of the homespun business advice of Warren Buffett, you can never go wrong in it.
I love Warren Buffett. You've been listening to Jim Fausone, managing partner at Fausone Bohn. Jim, where can people go to learn more about the law firm?
So go to FB, as in Fausone Bohn, fb-firm.com. You'll find the law firm. And if you're interested in our veterans disability practice, it's legalhelpforveterans.com. And actually we do, because that's a national practice, legalhelpforveterans.com really covers the where a lot of our marketing effort goes and a lot of our marketing experience comes from, and we've employed everything there, Matthew, from using consultants to help us with SEO or pay-per-click management to in the last year, I guess, we hired a marketing guy for inside the firm because we felt that we really needed to step up the game. And I guess there's a piece of advice I'd give folks too is even we hired our marketing assistant. I should have done this years ago. I knew I should have done this years ago, and I sort of bounced around for a while and I didn't know if I could convince my partners of this. Finally, I said, I know I have to do this. I'm just going to do it. And if you guys don't like it, so what? But we did this right before COVID. We did this right before shutdown. And the easy thing to do would have been stop that marketing. Mm-hmm. But, we looked at it and really said, we've got to market our way through this problem. And I didn't think it'd take this long. I didn't think we'd be working from home this way. But one of the better things I think we did is not give up on those efforts in the downturns, but extend our reach, extend what we were doing. While some others fell away and stopped doing it, we were able to move into that space. And I think it's helped in part because people are at home working, but they're also they're on digital more, right? They're on the internet more. They're checking more things out. So we've seen an uptick in our internet contacts from folks because of that effort. Go to legalhelpforveterans.com or on Facebook or any of the other social platforms, and you'll see some of the things that we're doing in that marketing space for that practice group as well.
Those are all awesome tips, Jim. Thanks a whole lot for taking the time to be on the show.
Not a problem, Matthew. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the ESQ Marketing Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.